Having just returned from Paris with a number of scientists, I can tell you that what Charles Dickens said a couple hundred years ago is still true today. These are the best of times and these are the worst of times. This is a season of light and it is a season of darkness. These are the best of times and a season of light because we are making fantastic strides, not only presenting the truth, but seeing to it that we are speaking truth to power. And that truth is having an impact among governments throughout the world. Looking up here at all of you and all of the filled seats, it's a wonderful sight. It's an inspiration to see so many brave souls that will defy the power of the media, the power of activist groups, the power of governments, to show that we will not be railroaded into accepting climate scarcity in the name of political correctness. You are truly a wonderful sight, and I congratulate you for being here. Not that it's been an easy road. Holger showed slides of conferences going back to 2007, and it truly is an honor to be working together with the European Institute for Climate and Energy to be co-sponsoring this conference, and also with our friends from CFACT. And seeing all of the history and progress from IKE reminds me of the struggles that we have gone through at the Heartland Institute with our International Conference on Climate Change series. Our first edition was in 2008, and back then we were hearing criticism from some of our allies in the free market movement in the United States. They would tell me, they would say, James, what you are doing is marginalizing all of us, and you are marginalizing all of us on so many issues. Because you are taking a position that is so unpopular among Democrats and Republicans alike, no one is going to listen to us anymore, not just on this topic, but any other topic. And we had quite a few discussions about this within the Heartland Institute. We knew the science was on our side, or at least we knew the science, the evidence was very strongly on our side, indicating we quite likely were on the right side of the issue. And we were confident the truth would win out. We are optimists. Now in 2008, when we held our first International Conference on Climate Change, just 1 year after Wolfgang and Holger and the European Institute for Climate and Energy held their first conference, polls in the United States showed that 60 to 70% of people believed humans were causing global warming and that it was a severe problem. It was, in other words, a crisis. Now, those same polls show the number of Americans who believe that humans are causing global warming and that it is reaching a crisis is only in the 30% range. That is a tremendous amount of success and good news, and it is indeed worthy of applause. Now, at dinner with Wolfgang, who was becoming a professional photographer in front of all of us, at dinner with Wolfgang last night, I asked him, here in Europe and in Germany, are you seeing the same type of progress that we are seeing in the United States in terms of public opinion? And certainly not to the same extent, but Wolfgang did report some progress, and that people who in the past had no idea that there even was a scientific debate are now familiar with it, and many of them looking into the scientific evidence itself. And that's the key, and it may take a little bit longer. Perhaps it's not quite as rapid here in Germany and in Europe as in the United States, the turnabout in public opinion. But the first step is getting people to look at the evidence. Because when the evidence is on our side, as it is here, truth will win out. People are not stupid, like the big government folks want us to believe. People are smart. If they have access to information, if they know where to find it, the truth will win out. And years and decades from now, people will look back and wonder how it is that so many people were tricked into believing in a global warming crisis. Were tricked into believing that strong government action was necessary to restrict energy, to make it expensive, to bring us back to the dark ages. And it's all of you in this room that will be able to look back and say, I was there at the beginning when the tide turned. So thank you so much for all of that. Now these are in many ways the best of times in the season of light, but these are also in many ways the worst of times in the season of darkness. In the United States and New York, because the scientific evidence is moving so many people, because people no longer are calling on government to restrict energy. In fact, just the opposite is happening. In the United States, 30 of our 50 states had imposed renewable power mandates on their citizens, but now 2 of those 30 have repealed those mandates. 2 others have passed legislation such that the mandates will sunset. In other words, they will not ramp up like they had previously been planned. Momentum is on our side. So, what is the response of the folks who advocate a global warming crisis? In the state of New York, their Attorney General, who is their top legal enforcement officer for the state, has launched an investigation, has issued legal subpoenas against an energy company, ExxonMobil, because they dared to convene a team of scientists 20 years ago. And they not only put together a whole team of scientists to look into the climate issue, they determined, based upon what their scientists had presented, that we are not creating a global warming crisis. What ExxonMobil did was exemplary due diligence. They decided, they had heard that there was a possibility that the burning of fossil fuels could create a climate crisis. At their own expense, they convened a team of scientists to investigate the issue. Those scientists did not speak in unison. If they did, we should be suspicious. But what the scientists concluded, to the greatest extent of evidence, was that humans are not creating a global warming crisis. Because one of those scientists went to the media recently and said, back 20 plus years ago, I was a scientist who disagreed. I told ExxonMobil we're creating a global warming crisis. Now we have the state of New York, the government legal authority, investigating, issuing subpoenas against ExxonMobil for daring to investigate a question of science and siding with scientists on the topic. That is reminiscent of not only the terror, but the Great Terror. It's not just in New York, and it's not just in the United States. In Canada, a group of people have written a letter to the Canadian government, the Canadian Attorney General, seeking criminal charges to be pressed against the Heartland Institute. We don't even live in Canada. Regardless, it's not just crazy environmental activists from some fringe groups. People signing this letter are professors at prestigious Canadian universities. People signing the letter include the former Canadian ambassador to the United Nations. People signing this letter include a current lead author for the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. You have people with the United Nations seeking criminal prosecution of anybody who disagrees with them. That, folks, is quite a scary thought. Nevertheless, this is a season of light, this is a season of darkness. I'm an optimist. I believe light will prevail. Looking around this room, seeing so many scientists who have published powerful, moving scientific papers, seeing so many common citizens who have become learned on the topic and are here coming out at their own time and expense to listen to the science, to become more educated. It is an incredibly encouraging and moving and joyful sight. Charles Dickens wrote his novel, A Tale of Two Cities, in a time of great trouble. But there were wonderful times ahead for England, there were wonderful times ahead for the world. I say the same is true today in the issue of climate science and the issue of the climate change debate. These may in many ways be the worst of times, and it may be a season of darkness, but these are also the best of times. This is a season of light, and the truth will prevail. Thank you for allowing us to be here. It's been a wonderful time presenting to you.